right, welcome back to No Leon County. I am your host, Michael Rice. With me today, I have Daniel McCausland, and we have special guest Scott MacLeod. Is that how you say that?
That's it, Scott MacLeod.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. Let's see, we are doing another political type podcast. So on this one, I'm going to start off just saying that this is not an endorsement interview. We're talking with candidates about issues that directly affect rural communities, farmland preservation, water, power, fire, safety, and pollution. And at the end, we'll be able to let our audience decide for themselves based on what you have to say. Does that sound good to you?
You bet, guys.
All right.
All right.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like in 1 minute or so? What should rural landowners know about you that won't appear on one of your campaign ads?
Yeah, well, real quick, 31-year military veteran, 2 deployments to Iraq, had some amazing opportunities, was the border commander for President Trump during his first administration. I commanded the Texas border mobilization. So spent quite a bit of time on the U.S.-Mexican border. Commanded the 6,000 soldiers and Marines that were in Houston during Hurricane Harvey. After my military career, ran a small business and ran a school. So I've had a wide range of experiences. And what someone might not know about me is I'm really proud to have the endorsement of 2 major ag leaders in the district. Mr. John Malazzo, who runs Producers Co-op and is on the Farm Bureau board, and also Dr. Jim Butler from Texas A&M, one of the leading veterinary doctors in the district. And so for those 2 guys to endorse me and to have them on my team as subject matter experts, helping me to understand the challenges that farmers and ranchers have, I feel really, really fortunate to have.
Yes, very fortunate. So what should rural landowners know about you that other than the endorsements that's not going to appear in a campaign ad?
Sure. Well, that number one, I'm smart enough to know that 96% of farms and ranches in the United States are family owned. They're not large corporate farms, and that makes them small businesses. And as small businesses, they're very subject to the same economic challenges faced by other types of businesses. We know how tight the margins are in cattle, for example. And right now, between screwworm and the border being closed and drought conditions across the United States, our national herd is down 3 to 4 million head. And we've got some real challenges in that industry. And that's why we're all paying 20% more for steak when we go to the supermarket. Yep. But it's just an understanding that, the United States has 4 elements of power, gentlemen: diplomacy, information, the big M, which is military, and E, economic. And our food supply and our farmers and ranchers really are tied into our national security. Right now, we've got the safest and most abundant and most available food supply in the world, highest quality. But, if a screwworm were to get out of control, or we were to have other severe droughts, et cetera, our food supply could be at risk, and Americans would face prices that they've never seen before.
Yeah. Kind of going off that, do you feel prime farmland should have protections similar to wetlands or conservation land? Yes, no, and why?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, I think the Ag Commissioner right now, Sid Miller, he's actually proposed state designated agricultural freedom zones to protect prime farmland. I think it's a smart idea. I mean, just look at Texas's population growth. About a decade ago, we were down around 23 million. Now we're over 27 million. That's significant. And, I was born in Texas. I've been driving around this state my whole life. And I tell you, it's hard to find a truly rural area anymore. Yeah. Everywhere has just exploded. So, yeah, we've got to protect those lands. We've got to ensure that our food supply is safe and secure, and that we're also taking care of those farmers and ranchers, because it's a tight business, and they've got to be able to make it.
Yeah.
Profit margins are slim.
Yes, they are. Well, what if industrial developers can outbid the farmers for the land? Should the government step in, or is that just kind of the free market, or how's that?
Well, and that's a tough one for us, especially as a conservative Republican. We don't want bigger government, right?
Right.
But there are times when government has to play a role. And how's a small Texas cattle operation going to compete with Meta or Google? With billionaires coming in from California because, our governor has swung the door wide open for businesses. And in many ways, that's good. That's good for our local economy. But, these heavy hitters, these high net worth corporations are coming in here, and there's no way for small time farmers to compete with them. So we've got to do something to protect them unless how do you guys feel about eating beef made in a factory?
I do not like that idea at all. And I'll tell you what, I've been trying to grow my operation since right after we bought this place we're at. And when we got here, land was around $6,000 or $7,000 an acre. Mm-hmm. It's up over 10 now. And then I've noticed ever since the data centers and solar farms and stuff have started coming in, they're paying $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 an acre so that they can just gobble up those giant tracts. So I can't lease them, I can't buy them, and there's no way, even if I could get a loan to try and pay that much money, I could never make a cash flow. So I'd never, I'd just be upside down all the way around.
You would never be able to make land at that price pay for itself,
right?
Ever.
Mm-mm.
So, would you support limits on converting prime agricultural land into industrial use? And if so, what would those limits look like from a congressional standpoint?
Well, again, absolutely. And I think that this is common sense, right? We incentivize other industries, for example, research and development as it relates to national defense. Mm-hmm. Big money flows out of Washington, D.C. down to Austin, Texas, into places like Capital Factory and other innovation hubs, primarily so that innovators can develop new technologies for the Department of War. If we can do that for defense, we can do it for our food supply. And so, I think that we've got to work with the Department of Agriculture. We've got to work with the Texas Farm Bureau, and we've got to work with local experts like Dr. Butler and John Malazzo and others to figure out the best way to incentivize farming and ranching. Simple things like we talked about cattle already, some type of a credit for heifers. We've got to get more heifers so we can have more baby cows, so we can beef and have lower steak prices. It's that simple. We've got to know how to do this, but, we've got to have leaders at the state and federal level who are honestly, tracking these issues and are putting together plans to solve them. And I mean, when's the last time you guys heard anybody tell you how they were going to make your beef prices go down and how we were
other than importing millions of Argentina beef? Nothing.
Right. That's one way. That's one way. Right. But at the end of the day, this is a practical issue that's affecting, not just farmers and ranchers, but middle class families.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting hard to eat.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. Well, water is one of those key players in this whole equation too. If water is finite, who should have priority over that? The agriculture or industrial facilities?
Well, this one impacts me personally. I own a small piece of property in Burleson County, and all of our water has been lost, and it's shipped out to places like San Antonio or other major urban centers. And so it's hard to sell a piece of land when you don't own the water rights, and you don't have a guaranteed source. So, yeah, again, as part of the overarching strategy to protect our food supply, I think that the counties need to be enabled with the right statutory authorities that allows them to force these big industries to partner with, either the Texas Water Development Board or local conservation districts to ensure that before they come in, before they start building, that we've done the studies to ensure that we're not going to be a drag on the local water supply and end up causing citizens and farmers and ranchers to not have the supply they need.
If a data center comes in sucking 6 million gallons a day out of the aquifer, I've got 15 different ponds that'll go dry, 4 shallow wells that'll go dry. And as a beef producer, that's going to affect my bottom line, which is going to affect beef cost in the grocery store. Back to that.
Well, it already is. The primary reason why we're down 3 to 4 million head is because of drought conditions across the United States. That is the primary reason. It's not the screwworm. The screwworm is a complicating factor that's just arisen. It's been drought. Your Ogala aquifer, I saw a report, it's down to somewhere around 50%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a finite issue. And, if it wasn't, then, look at what College Station just did. Mayor John Nichols down in College Station, because they have different authorities as a city municipality, he was able to say no. They rejected the data center and said, go away. So the problem, though, is that counties, unfortunately, due to the way the local government code was written, don't have the same teeth and the same ability to ward off these data centers when they purchase the land.
Yeah, that is for sure.
So if they're coming in and they're going to use our water, we live in a very rural area. You've been to Jewett, Marquette area. Our power grid is already strained really bad. During the snowstorms in 2001 or whenever it was, we had people here without power for 2 months, just with them trying to recover. So should these industrial projects, if they come in, when they come in, be required to bring their own power generation instead of pulling from our rural grids? Yeah.
And so, one of the things I've done is I actually reached out to an energy expert, and he frequently testifies before the Texas legislature on Texas power issues. And so he sat down with me. We had a long talk about this. Right now, natural gas is the main supplier of energy. You've got about 8 different sources, but natural gas is at the top. It's cheap, it's plentiful, but you often don't have the infrastructure. You don't have the distribution lines going into some of these rural areas. And so that's where we start losing farmland. We got to run the power down. We got to make the connection. There's pros and cons. Your question was alternative energy. Yes, they would prefer to use either SNR, small nuclear reactors, or microreactors to power them. They know that that's more cost efficient. The problem, though, is they don't have them. They're not ready to deploy in the numbers necessary.
Right.
So until they can catch up, they're going to continue to rely on natural gas to power.
They're outpacing their technology. They're trying to build these too quick without letting technology catch up with them.
Yeah, and I think the question is where are the studies that can be sent to the counties ahead of time proving that, hey, this new data center will not negatively affect your water supply or your power costs for local residents. They shouldn't worry about, costs going up. And oh, by the way, local ranchers don't need to worry about large new distribution centers and lines being put in that takes their land. Where are those studies at? And I think
they don't have them.
Yeah, so I think
we reached out to Belltown 3 or 4 times. They won't speak to us.
Well, and that's, our challenge. I'm a practical guy. I mean, the problem we got here, guys, is the train has left the station. I mean, we've already got, 400 data centers in the state of Texas and more coming.
Yep.
We've got more than 4,000 of them in the United States. There's more data centers in the United States than there anywhere else in the world. So, we're not putting the genie back in the bottle.
Right.
So I think this is where Texas leadership has got to, recognize that this is very concerning for our rural counties. 254 counties in the state of Texas.
Yep.
Now, on the opposite side, we've got folks saying, well, we want these, like Harlingen. Harlingen is excited about they're talking about 1,000 new jobs, and they're talking about, 50 or 60 or $70 million in new tax revenue. So it seems like some counties want them, some counties don't. I think McLennan County, they've got a new additional 50 or 60 million in tax revenue coming in due to theirs. So
I'm pretty sure the people in Lacey, Lakeview, that may be McLennan County, are fighting that, and the city's fighting them back against them, saying, we're not going to do what the people want. We're going to do what we want.
And elections matter, don't they?
Yes, the elections have consequences. Definitely.
So, should taxpayers ever have to pay for the power or water infrastructure that's needed by these private industrial facilities?
Well, I don't think they should. I think that this ought to be part of a deal with the companies bringing these data centers in. I mean, not only to require them to generate their own forms of power, but to do other things, to use different types of cooling systems, to, use brackish water and, non-potable water instead of potable water, to make agreements on tax floors. So, for example, to ensure that a certain amount of tax will come into the county, to make agreements on road repair, all of the heavy equipment and trucks and everything that need to come in to complete construction. So these are all things that the county should have the ability to negotiate and have as a guarantee from these data centers to make sure that they're not taking advantage of the county, and the county can recoup the cost of repair of all these different things that they've got to deal with.
Yeah.
Without us having to carry the tax burden on our back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in big cities, these facilities that end up coming in, they're protected by full-time, like fully equipped fire departments. And out here, we rely completely on volunteers. And while they do an excellent job showing up and putting out tractor fires and fires in the pastures and things like that, it's normally 2 or 3 fellas, that show up. And if they need backup, they're having to come from another city across the county to get over here and help. That's one of the issues we're running into out here is, those things they don't catch on fire every day, but the odds that they're going to catch on fire is also not zero. And, when that happens, if those large industrial places are bringing in these heightened risks, our guys are going to show up and they're going to be able to watch it burn because they're understaffed, they're under equipped, and they're not trained to be able to handle these kind of fires at those places. Who should be responsible for the fire protection in situations like that? The community or the company, or what do you think about that?
There's no reason why. First of all, you're talking about these big data companies, right? Yeah. Meta, Google, Apple. We all know they've got the money to provide either their own security and even, on-site fire. I mean, some of these data centers, I saw one planned for West Texas that I think was 4,000 acres.
Yeah.
The one if you're going to build anything that's 4,000 acres, you probably need your own fire department on site. So I think it's completely reasonable to expect them to either provide their own resources or come in and augment and reinforce the locals, in the same way that we want them to hire locally. Well, a way to do that is to partner with local community colleges or other educational institutions to establish training programs so that local residents can actually be trained and be the employees inside the data centers instead of bringing in folks from who knows where.
I can tell you, it'll be H-1B visa employees.
Yeah, exactly. And so, they can do that. They can partner with local educational institutions. If you're going to, you may have 1,000 people involved the first year during construction, et cetera, and then it's probably going to be, 100 people or 50 people based on the size. You've got small data centers, medium, large, and then you got the jumbo size.
This is a big one.
Yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, which is definitely the big ones. But look, they can establish ways to either augment local assets, such as the volunteer fire department, to provide extra training, to coordinate with Teeks, who runs the firefighting school over there at the Rellis campus on Texas A&M. I mean, there's things they can do. They've got the money. They've
definitely
got deep pockets.
We've got what is it, NRG, the power plant that's here. They have their own fire brigade out there full time. Mm-hmm. So it's staffed. They've got their own equipment and everything. So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every major airport has a fire department. Right. It's not unusual, and there are ways to do it.
So, say there's a fire, and we have our volunteer fire department, but half of them are at work that day and can't leave work and come fight it. And they can't do anything to contain the fire. And it spreads to the surrounding farmland, timberland. Who's financially responsible for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that that's why lawyers make a lot of money. They can get in there and pin some of that blame back on them for not having the response capability necessary for preventing a large forest fire from breaking out. I mean, I worked in my earlier career with the Texas Division of Emergency Management quite closely on fires, and at any given time in the state of Texas, there's 10 or 15 fires burning. I mean, it's pretty amazing actually. So that's a practical concern. Since there won't be any water for the volunteer firemen to use because the aquifer will be, I'm being, trying not to be too flippant here, but the point is yes, those things have all got to be prearranged. The resources need to be available. And I think my bottom line is these companies, they've got the money. I mean, they've got these are, most of these data centers are valued at around 1 billion. So, I mean, it can be much more based on their size,
for sure.
But that's like a starting number. I mean, it could be 50 billion. So they got the money.
Yes.
There's no reason why they can't help.
Do you think like approval for? I mean, I don't know. The county doesn't have a whole lot of stuff that they can approve, but there's definitely septic permits that they have to get, and there's definitely most of them are coming after tax abatements and things like that. So should approval be denied for any of these things unless adequate fire response capacity is in place before construction begins?
Well, I mean, fire is one, but what about the pre-public disclosure of how they're going to impact water or power for local residents, or the tax impacts on local residents?
Transparency.
Yeah,
transparency. There is
absolutely none. In advance. Unfortunately, there's if you do some reading, you'll find that in many cases they're requiring non-disclosure agreements because they're not willing to lay everything down on the table in an open, transparent way for people to understand before they build. The county can also figure out a way to tie permit renewals to performance. So, for example, they promised one thing and the county sees another. If permit renewals are tied to performance, that's a way for the county to be able to establish accountability over the local data center.
So I think company some skin in the game.
Yeah. I think there's lots of ways, and I think that if you guys are probably already aware of this, but there's actually a movement across the United States that these anti-data center groups are beginning to coordinate and to share ideas. Obviously, state laws are very different, and there's different things you have to do. But there's quite a bit of learning that can be had by looking around the country and seeing what others are doing to stop or slow the development of these things.
100%. I've learned more about data centers in the past 2 months than I ever wanted to know in my life. Way more than I ever cared to know. So a lot of these companies come in, and I'll use the oil field as an example. They'll build a well, the well's no good, and then they just abandon it. And 15 years later, everybody's wondering who owns this well, and nobody takes responsibility of it. So if the well starts leaking or whatever, nobody's taking responsibility to clean up the mess. So should industrial facilities be required to carry long-term environmental liability insurance? So if 15 years from now, the company sold 8 times, and it's just an eyesore and leaking chemicals, we can actually hold somebody accountable for that.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But, guys, the challenge here is the reason they're coming here is because Texas has very friendly regulations for business. And when we say friendly, what we also mean is not like that. So they wouldn't be coming to, that sounds like California to some degree, and not in a negative way. What I mean is they probably already thought through that. Texas is known for not having as much regulation. So the Texas legislature is going to have to get involved on this, and they're going to have to realize that this, look, is it important for our ability? We all like streaming video, and we like the fact that we can, have this Zoom call right now. Well, that's a lot of your cloud computing is occurring in these data centers, but they suck resources, and we don't have, an unending supply of water and energy. So it's going to have to get worked out. We're going to have to be able to put aside the giant tax revenues, the more than, I think it's like the estimate is 140 billion economic impact to Texas because of these things. Well, that's great, but we still got to think through the natural resources and how
At
it
what
affects the
cost?
population.
At what cost?
Yeah.
At 100 billion, at what cost to the land, the people? Michael, you've got really good experience with these companies moving in and leaving and not being able to handle them.
Yeah, out in I want to say it's Pecos County, because I grew up out in West Texas, a lot of the wells quit producing, and so at one point whoever owned those wells offered to convert them into water wells for the landowners. Well, they did, and the landowners were happy, and then all of a sudden those wells went sour and started putting out mostly salt water, like strong, hard, heavy salt water, so much so that they just started pouring out of the ground. And they've got a 60 to 100 acre lake out there just in the middle of nowhere. And it just gets bigger every day because they can't get them stopped. And nobody knows who owns them. Like the landowners, they just turned everything over to them. And the landowners don't even know who owns the land, because people left so long ago because everything was just, not usable because of all the drilling and all the or all the wells and everything out there. And Railroad Commission won't do anything because it's not an oil well anymore. And landowners don't have any money to take care of it. And so now the water's just pouring out of the ground, and it's like way saltier than the ocean. And there's nothing that's being done about it. It's just getting worse every day.
Sounds like the Dead Sea of West Texas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I was getting at. If 10 years from later and this pollution shows up, how are these companies held accountable if you can't track them down? And I'm sure the oil companies that did that in West Texas have been defunct companies for 25, 30 years. And now nobody's responsible. The people are left to shoulder the burden.
Yeah. Now, I will say that, the energy expert I talked about, his point was that there is not as much risk of toxic spillage or runoff as some are concerned about. And so, look, I'm not a scientist. I mean, there's smart ones out there, but I think, why aren't they showing up with proof? The studies and the proof that, hey, look, we've worked with the Texas Water Development Board. We've proven that we can do this safely without endangering your aquifers or your groundwater, your recharge zones. I think it's completely reasonable to ask for that.
They're being very shady about it. That makes it look like it's not good for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was good, they'd have billboards up saying, "This is why the data center is great." Not making people sign non-disclosure agreements and everything else.
Yes. Yeah, that was what happened in College Station. They had to sign an NDA, and the NDA expired like 3 days before the vote was going to happen.
And that's how they found out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Oh, do you oppose using eminent domain to support private industrial projects?
I caught the first part of the question. Can you repeat it?
Absolutely. Do you oppose using eminent domain to support private industrial projects?
Yes. I think the challenge there is if we're taking people's land so that a mega corporation like, Meta or Google can, a for-profit corporation, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Right.
It's one thing that we need to run power into a major city like Houston or San Antonio or something like that. But, we're basically doing it so that a corporation can make a profit. I have a hard time with that.
Agreed.
I'm gonna ask you a question that you need to answer the best you can. Name one position that you hold that will upset either developers or donors.
I think that moratorium should be allowed. Senator Betancourt jumped all over Hood County commissioners yesterday, telling them that he was going to turn them over to the Texas Attorney General. He was on that like a hobo on a hot dog. I think that I think that we should slow this down a little bit. We admit there are true concerns here, and there's no reason why these mega billion-dollar corporations can't invest in the studies to prove to the local residents that they're not going to harm their communities. I just don't understand that. I mean, these people have serious money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is paying for
Agreeing
a
with
study.
moratoriums would definitely make the developers angry.
Yeah, paying for a study to prove to the county that we won't harm your natural resources. I mean, that's budget dust.
Yeah,
For
that's
these big corporations.
pennies to what they have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, what questions do you wish that rural voters would ask to every candidate before they vote for them?
You need to ask why am I doing this? I mean, I know every position is slightly different. To serve as a United States representative, I mean, I think the question is, hey Scott, why are you willing to leave your family for 150 days a year and go up to the swamp? I think motive principle needs to be the number one question that voters are asking. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I mean, I called a friend of mine. He's an attorney in Austin who defends Austin police officers quite a bit. And, I said, what do you think about me running for Congress? And he said to me, Scott, he said, I don't know why anyone would want to run for Congress unless it was to get rich by doing insider trading. And so first thing I did was put out a written promise that, hey, I will not trade stocks. And it's not like I got a lot of them. I'm just a middle-class guy. But I've got no problem proving to people that I'm not trying to go to D.C. to get rich. I'm not trying to go there to stay there forever. I've already signed the term limit pledge. We ought to be going there to help the 700,000 constituents that are spread across the 13 counties of this district. And we ought to be going there because we truly care about our state and our nation, and we know that it's in trouble. And if we don't start sending some different kinds of folks up to D.C., we shouldn't expect different results. So I think that's the question. Why? What's your motive principle? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Oh, you're not a tech millionaire lawyer? I had to get the jab in. Sorry.
Well, Scott, if I give you a couple minutes to just kind of talk, if we went through anything that it didn't go through, something that you might want some voters to know about. We have elections, the early voting starts Tuesday, 17th. Right?
That's right.
Yeah,
so it's around the corner.
And then go ahead. Yeah.
The primary is exciting because you got 40 to 50,000. This is a non-presidential year, so we'll see what the total vote count is. But let's just say 40 to 50 so thousand people can decide in this district who's going to go to Congress. And the reason for that is this is a heavily Republican district. Whoever wins the primary is going to get elected next November. That's for sure. So this is an opportunity. We always say your vote matters. Trust me, your vote matters. The other thing is we got to get younger people to vote. We've got the data on who votes, and more than 80% of primary voters are 65 years of age or older.
Oh, wow.
And in the last primary, if I'm not mistaken, not a single person under the age of, I think, 21 or 22 years old voted in the primary.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
So, young people especially have a real opportunity to get involved and to have something to say about, what things look like.
Yes.
But, I think that, I want to be balanced. I recognize on the national security side that we've got to win the AI fight. There is a true valid national security concern on this. And let me explain that to you. I've got a degree from the Army War College, and I'm a graduate of what's called the Advanced Strategic Art Program. So I know a little bit about national security strategy. Right now, the United States is trying to figure out how to use AI to improve healthcare, how to use it to improve education, how to use it to improve transportation and industry in the United States. But guys in China, they're waking up every morning trying to figure out how to weaponize AI. And what we cannot allow to happen is one day for 5 unmanned Chinese drones to appear on the horizon of the South China Sea. And because they're enhanced with AI, they shoot down 50 American naval fighters and then sink one of our aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
That's the reality of how AI does shape national defense and national security strategy. This is a powerful, powerful tool, and we need to lead the effort in this. But that does not mean we should go into counties and rape them of their natural resources, pollute their water, and cause all kinds of infrastructure issues. These guys have enough money to ensure that doesn't happen and to do it in a safe way. And when a county says no, they should move on down the road.
Yeah.
We're not anti-growth at all. We're
exactly.
Our nonprofit is Citizens for Responsible Growth in Leon County. We are all for growth. We just want it responsible and transparent.
Yes.
We know we need AI, we need data centers, we need multiples of other things, but let's be responsible about it. Let's set up guardrails to keep everything lined up and together.
Well, and let's just be honest. I mean, do the residents of Leon County actually think that most of the people in Austin woke up this morning with the priorities of Leon County at the top of their mind?
I think we all know better than that.
Absolutely. And so when you're electing a congressman or you're electing a state house rep or a state senator, doggone it, we need to find people who are willing to go either to Austin or to DC and put their finger in the chest of some of these people and say, no, we don't have to do it this way. And we don't have to bow down to these mega corporations simply because they're going to donate a lot of money to our campaigns.
Right.
We don't.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today and giving us all your thoughts on these matters that are, well, they're top to a lot of folks out here in this area right now, especially. So.
Yeah, they are top priorities for a lot of people right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
not just here.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. It's just a shame that Austin right now seems to be disconnected from the counties. And I think that, as I said it, I mean, I think this is a huge strategic communication problem for the governor's office. We've got to figure this out, or these counties are going to start marching on Austin with pitchforks and torches.
Yes, sir.
We may need to do that anyway, just so people listen.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the. I guess, are you coming back to Jewett anytime soon, or are there?
Oh, probably. I roll through these counties a couple times a week, so you just never know when I'll pop up.
All right.
All right. I appreciate it, Scott.
Yep,
you have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, guys. And hey, don't forget, tell everybody to check out my website, scottfortexas.com.
All right. scottfortexas.com.
We appreciate you. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.